to be honest, this and the last thing we talked about, it seems kind of reactionary to me. It seems like Tyler's a little conservative out here.
Tyler says he thinks that podcasts should be banned. Now, we're on a podcast, obviously, so I
need to hear his point on this.
Yeah, so in the interview with The Cut, he says, I think we give a lot of people who aren't smart and just want attention platforms to be loud and incorrect. And other stupid people follow them. So this is basically his thinking in terms of everybody having a microphone, everybody being able to just podcast and do whatever.
It is free will. You don't have to watch these podcasts, and you don't have to pay attention to them. You're rich enough not to.
Well, he actually will go on to say, he says, where are the people with skills? We need electricians. We need more drummers, painters, teachers.
Everybody do that too.
Everybody with a mic is crazy. He's like, everybody with the mic is crazy. He's like, I think that shit is gross.
Well, I mean, look, there is a tradition of people being loud and wrong.
True.
One of them is in the office.
Yeah. And the thing is, so a lot of, and that tradition was started way before there was a thing called podcast. I understand where maybe he's coming from, because he might have heard some, foolishness on somebody's podcast. Not this one. We were very excited about your album, Tyler. But I think also, let's just be real. The cream rises to the top. There are a lot of people who have started podcasts or quote unquote have platforms, and they thought they were going to be next, this, that, and third. We haven't heard anything from them. All right. And I'm talking about famous people. I'm not talking about, the guys like us who, wanted to start a little platform. It was a really thing for us to make something happen. I'm talking about the people they've given famous people podcasts, and they didn't know what they were talking about.
True.
And, at one point Spotify was throwing money at a little bit of everybody, just so they could say that they had the content.
People still start, athletes, musicians, everybody got a podcast now.
But when a lot of people realize they're not going to be, Gil's Arena or The Pivot,
yeah,
and then they realize, it's also actual work that's going to take away time from my family or what I really want to be doing, even though this is just a trend for them. Like, we talk about these platforms as if it's something that, once again, you said it, you don't have to watch, you don't have to listen. I remember at one point I was a fan, and I'll just call people out. I was a fan of Brilliant Idiots. And then, I don't know, it just got to be something where I'm like, all right, this is something else now compared to when I started listening to it. So I stopped watching Brilliant Idiots. You know what I'm saying? Dude, I filled it in with other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when people just talk about anything that they don't like.
Yeah. That's it right there.
Yeah. When it's like, I don't care about the Kardashians. I don't care about whatever it is that they're doing. I couldn't tell you. Apparently they have another show. They don't do Keeping Up with the Kardashians, because I referred to it as that. And they're like, oh, it's just the Kardashians now. I was like, I wouldn't know.
Care less.
Because it's like, that's not something I choose to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. So there is so much content out here in whatever the atmosphere that whatever it is that you don't like, there are so many other options for you to pay attention to, or you could ignore them all.
Yeah.
If you don't,
that's one of the keys. That's one of the exact problems that I was going to say, and you touched on it, is people love to highlight the bullshit. Just like last week with the Pacers being in the finals, they big up this chick, this white chick rapper.
Whoa.
That's supposed to be like the biggest rapper coming up. And it's trash. It's trash, but it got the most play out of everything. It's bullshit.
Hate views, though.
Yeah, hate views, but hate views add up.
It counts as views.
You know what I'm saying? It counts as views. So it's not necessarily up to the podcast or whoever that you don't agree with. If you like some, boost it up. If you don't like it, don't share it. Just let it go.
Do you guys think that...
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, B. Go ahead.
I think people are more likely to respond to something that they don't like as opposed to something that they do. You know what I mean? If it's something that they actually like, they'll just click the button and just go about their business. But if it's something that they really have a problem with,
they'll make a post about it.
Yeah, a comment about it or whatever, because I've got to let you know that I do not with this.
Well, no, I mean,
I'll fall victim to that sometimes.
Look, whenever I have, I take Uber on a pretty frequent basis, and if the person just gets me to where I'm supposed to be on time, they get 5 stars. Probably drop them, a little tip or whatever. The only time I've ever written anything out is when somebody was in an accident. I think this dude couldn't read or didn't have on his glasses or whatever.
Lone laughs at the guy that can't read.
I was like, at one point, I gave him 2 stars just because, well, I'm still alive. That's the only, but I had to let him know. I was like, yo, this person doesn't need to be out on the road doing this. Maybe they should only drive during the day. I don't know what it was, but it was like, this was I was in an accident. In an Uber. I mean, it wasn't his fault, so it was cool. But then, there was somebody who was supposed to come pick me up the other day, and I was like, hey, you still on the way? I could, because you can text him, whatever. He's like, man, I got hemmed up by the police. Oh. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to cancel this.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay for it. So I had to write out a whole thing because a lot of times that's the only way you can get. Same thing with DoorDash. The only time I've written a review on DoorDash is when they forgot to send me my hush puppies or something.
There's some scammers out there.
So I mean, like a lot of times when people do stuff the right way, yeah, we just maybe we'll say something about it. But when you mess up, that's when you get the feedback.
So Lone, I got a question.
Okay.
As you read Tyler's comment, right? Is this a situation where he is saying that he cares without saying it? Because the way that he's talking about this, it's coming from a place to me where somebody that actually cares about the space.
To be honest, this and the last thing we talked about, it seems kind of reactionary to me. It seems like Tyler's a little conservative out here. It's not that I don't necessarily agree with him that not everybody needs a podcast.
Okay.
Because that's true. Not everybody needs a podcast. I am a strong believer that not everybody deserves a public opinion. I know that's controversial.
Second that.
But at the same time, caring? I don't know. I think he just doesn't want the noise to be as loud, maybe.
Okay. I like that. I'll take that.
And so I can understand it, I guess.
But they're the same people who are like, talk about the whole manosphere, whatever that's supposed to be now. It's a whole bunch of women who think, yeah, they should stop selling podcast mics to men. There's always somebody who's going to be like, hey, I don't want to hear anybody else's opinion about whatever it is that they feel is important.
I mean, I think that goes both ways when we talk about men and women, because hell, B. Simone going through it right now for what, whatever.
Set herself up.
Yeah. So, for me, as a person that has been loud and wrong on a podcast before, you got to give people room to grow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because
that's fair.
I know when I first started podcasting in 2015, there was a lot of ignorant stuff that just came out my mouth. And there were people that happened to come and follow me. You know what I mean? But from some of the stuff that I said, just because they found me entertaining. But
he's ignorant. Let's follow him.
Honestly, that's how it works.
Or I made you laugh and you thought I was funny. You know what I mean? But in the midst of all of those things, I learned through conversation with people and life experience.
Yeah.
And my opinion changed. You know what I mean? So that does not make me less entertaining. You know what I mean? Like, I can still entertain through these pod microphones. You know what I mean? So, and I'm happy to be here on this illustrious podcast with you fine gentlemen. You know what I mean? So, give people room to grow, man, because like this.
Are we going to give Trump room to grow? Because he's loud and wrong.
How much room does he need?
When he gets to his age, he is who he is. You know what I mean? Like,
there's no more growth. Yeah, he is who he is, 100%.
I was just saying that to be saying it.
I still have certain opinions that I do not share publicly. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
some of our conversations before the show happens will never be recorded.
Yeah,
that part.
You know
that
what I mean?
part.
But at the same time, like, I am wise enough now to know that everything, all of my opinions do not have to be made public.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
Like, There is a saying, that I learned on the podcast before of COE, content over everything. And that's not necessarily true in today's climate. You know what I mean? You have to gatekeep what you say.
I see where you're going.
You know
I see
what I
where
mean?
you're going.
So, you have to be, I say be genuine in what it is that you have to say. But at the same time, everything does not need to be on a public platform.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
You know what's crazy?
Learn when to shut the up.
Go ahead, Lone. I'm sorry.
Respectfully.
I was just gonna say, to me, like if you can, I don't have a problem with people being genuine.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and this is something that I practice myself. I try to at least is like, at least be open to where like if you are wrong, you can accept that information. And like if I'm gonna be out here being foul and stupid, and somebody's gonna be like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that, then I should probably react in a specific type of way. Then I'm not contributing negative to society or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Right? To me, that's the bad part of it. And to me, that's also where I also feel where Tyler kind of needs to just accept the things of what they are. Like, we're in a space right now to where people can talk, people can have microphones. I get frustrated. I get more frustrated at the comments of people saying, why do the unoriginal comment of, man, they should make podcast equipment more expensive. It's just like, don't watch.
Yeah, I'll say this much.
Not even towards us. I'm talking about in general.
Yeah. I'm saying this specifically to Tyler. In 2015, when I first started podcasting, I would have never given Tyler's music a chance. You know what I mean? But through life experience and conversations with people that, come from a different background than me.
And people you respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, credible people.
My opinions have changed on some things. You know what I mean? And I'm a lot more receptive to, certain different ways of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just growth.
Yeah. So, look, Tyler, shut the up.
No, I mean, like, I just remember when I first heard about Odd Future, and they tried to compare it to Wu-Tang Clan. I was like, no.
They try to compare.
I ain't gonna lie. That's not really too far-fetched.
Be careful, man. Be careful, man. Be careful.
It's not too far-fetched, man. When you look at the branches from the Odd Future, from when it goes from movies, TV, all of those things, man, it's not too far off, man.
So,
but when you told me that in 2000, they were trying to already make them the new Wu-Tang Clan in 2015.
That part.
So that, I mean, and it's earlier than that. Like, so that's where sometimes, but that's, look, man, I've said this on my show, on this show. Is that you don't date, actually, you don't marry your opinions, you date them. All right. And once new information is introduced, then, okay, your ideas and opinions can update. But at the same time, you don't marry those updated opinions either. Okay. You don't marry any idea. You don't marry any opinion, not when you have the option to date them and make adjustments based on new information.
On these podcasts is going to happen. Regardless,
you can't stop it.
Yeah, you can't stop it.
You cannot stop it.
It doesn't matter.
You
can say the same thing about music. I mean, he is a professional musician. He could say that they need to stop giving all these people radio time and giving them deals, because I mean, compared to what he does and some of the shit that comes out, I mean, it doesn't align with what he likes.
Bro, you ate a roach.
Huh? Oh, well,
you talking about
that was a fire video, though.
That video was fire.
And the song is fire.
Yeah,
but the video was very interesting. But I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. This podcast equipment is going to stay on sale. People are going to buy it. They're going to feel like, well, they're going to do it, and then they're going to retire, and somebody else is going to come along and do the same thing. So, I mean, I kind of just feel like he had an interview, and they didn't have a lot to talk about.
I add this. People are going to do what they need to do to get on.
Yeah,
it's just like you did.
They're gonna shake ass.
It's the same concept.
That boils down to people saying a lot of shit that and having opinions that are stupid. And people do that on purpose, trying to get out.
That's what I was going to say earlier is you spoke to, I think Lone mentioned it as well, talking about being genuine. I will push back to say that a lot of this shit is not genuine. It's for what he just said. It's about clicks, views, likes. How can I get lit so I can get to the bag?
Jim Jones?
Jim Jones is
we're gonna get there. But yes, like I don't think a lot of this stuff is genuine. Now you have your upper echelon podcasts or content creators that's
what it is.
You can tell that's what it is.
It all boils down to content. They don't care what the content is.
Yeah.
As long as somebody eats it up.
But there are some people. There are some people that are out here that are 100% doing what's necessary.
Yes.
Just to make content.
Absolutely.
Point blank. Period. And like Lone said, we can't stop it. So just pay attention to what you can control.
I think that's just the growth that I had. Is like I used to like hate certain types of music and certain types of things, but then you realize it's like you can't control
it. Yeah.
So just focus on the stuff you do like, promote the stuff that you do like, amplify the stuff you do like, and just ignore the rest of the stuff. That's all you can do as a person, unless you want to be like a weird, I don't know, dictator or something. Like
no, it's super it's super counterproductive to just complain about a whole like trash music. Like for what?
Yeah.
Like there's 10 artists you could be talking about.
That's definitely growth on your part if you're saying that.
I used to be that person.
I guarantee somebody's gonna drop something and you're gonna talk about that Friday.
Yeah.
A 15-minute classic.
Oh, I hate those.
I'm really ready to put a bet down that he's gonna make one of these posts before
I
the
hate 24-hour classics. That's
wait till he's gonna forget about it.
Yeah, that's number one on my list.
Yeah, he's gonna forget.